Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm here with my boy Max. Welcome back, Max. How you doing today, man?
Hey, what's going on? It's been a long time. I
Yeah.
know. Actually, yeah, been over a year the more I'm thinking about it. How's it going?
Hey, man, it's going great. Uh, can't really complain. It's a good year so far. Good TV year. A lot of TVs to talk about, and yeah, we're gonna go over a couple of things. I got some price comparisons. I've got like a page where it shows you like what the lowest price has been. Um, then we're gonna go over Best Buy. We got Amazon also, and I'll be talking about some of like the LG partner deals. And I may have the 77-inch OLED G4 Black Friday price. Like, not many people know about that. And I think I uncovered it though. I think I might have uncovered it. So we'll talk about that in just a second. But yeah, I just want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. It's gonna take a little bit for that to show up probably because this is delayed a little bit. But yeah, what's up to everybody? And hope everybody's having a good day so far. I know this is kind of like a stream out of nowhere. So yeah, hope everybody's
Oh
doing
yeah,
good,
I'm
man.
I'm I'm typing as we speak and stuff, so that's why you didn't hear me say anything specifically.
Yeah.
But what is going on, everyone?
Yep.
I know people are starting to slowly join in.
Yeah, we got Brent in the house. Hold on, let's. That's a really big. Hold on. Time out. That's really big.
Yeah, I like this new.
Let me edit that. Let me edit that. That's really
Oh,
big.
oh, okay.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, the font sizes are huge.
yeah. So yeah, let's take that down. All right, that's a little bit better. That's a little bit better. Yeah. Hello, Brent. What's up?
Oh yeah, now that looks better.
So right now, what I have up is kind of like one of the biggest questions a lot of people ask me this year is for like 65-inch consumer-based OLED. I guess I don't know what to call that entry level OLED because entry level makes it sound like it's cheap. Still not cheap, but it's the cheapest you'll get OLED outside of like the B series. And I have also checked out the B for this year, and I'll talk about that, how it compares to the C series. But if we're just looking at like the C4, the S90D, the S90C, the C3, they're all really close in price now with the 65-inch in mind. And what's your take on like going with a new model over an old model if there's only like a $200 difference?
I think it depends on the model specifically. So if I'm looking at the let's just say C4 compared to a C3, then I'll go
Hmm.
with the C3 because I haven't seen that much of a difference when it comes to picture quality wise. Because it's still not using, from my memory, it's still not using new technology like the G4 is using the G3,
Right.
like the Meta. So that's kind of like for me. I think that's a no brainer, and I think you probably even get a better price with last year model, depending on who you talk to as a
Y-
salesperson. So you may get even better price depending on if the manager approves that. So
Yeah, that's a good point. A lot of like store only exclusive deals going on, like Costco, for example. You can get some of the closeout deals for like the C3. I know I seen the 65-inch C3 there for about $12.99. So like that's a really good point. I think Best Buy also does their own store exclusive sales. Somebody was saying like the G3 was around $17.99 for the 65-inch. So if you get the G3 for these prices, you absolutely go with the G3 for these prices over the TVs that we see here. But when we're talking about like features and what's been updated, I will tell you for a fact, since I was able to review the C4 and the C3, I can tell you that the C4 is definitely brighter, and it is significantly better than the C3 in certain areas, and in certain areas it's very much the same. I think in most regular content you would find that like there's not a huge difference between them, but if we're just talking about like the maximum peak brightness of the TV where it can get to, the C4 is a little bit better than the C3 in that area. And the C4 actually like was trading blows with the S90D, surprisingly, where the C3 last year, the S90C just like completely was the better TV, and it wasn't close. So the C4 is doing a lot better with peak brightness in mind. It still doesn't keep up with like color though when it comes to QD OLED. So that's one of the areas where it's like if you're really somebody who's after high brightness in your color, then you have to go QD OLED, especially game mode. Like game mode is a no contest for me. Like you were able to see the C3 last year, right? And the S90C.
Yeah, I was just about to say, for my review, I did the C3, and I uh, I know people was giving me a lot of slack, but I actually liked the C3 just because that I think it was it for the price of it.
Mm-hmm.
I think LG did a really good job for, and even the C4 is it has some improvements as well, but it's just like the price difference. I still will go with the C3, just by performance wise and stuff, especially if people are trying to look for like a budget OLED TV. Even though I'm not saying it's a budget like it's cheap, but
Right.
if you're looking at that price range, I think the C3 would be a better deal because it's pretty much identical and stuff,
Yeah.
except for tweaks here and there.
Yeah, and so like the S90C and the S90D, I guess you can have that same conversation there. But I will say this, the S90D this year did improve on the HDR color. So by default, it defaults into BT 2020 instead of DCI-P3 now. So you don't have to go in and manually change that. It's all working really good out of the box on the S90D for your BT 2020 color space, which is great. And that's something like everybody's been asking for a really long time. And Classy's actually one of the ones that kind of got them to change it. I know he won't give himself credit, but I'll go ahead and give him credit. He's the one that kind of pushed the narrative on it. So now they're doing that, and that's really great. So it's great to see the S90D in that position. And for me personally, like I see your argument on the C4 and the C3, like saving $200 and just getting the C3. I think that's pretty justifiable. I mean, honestly, in terms of capability, yeah, the C4 is a little bit more capable, but if we're just talking about like color wise and just watching movies, they're pretty similar in that sense where they both have that green tint off angle. You know, they're both gonna have some color issues out of the box unless you get it calibrated. So that's one of the ones where when you're looking at those two, yeah, absolutely save $200. But in the case of the S90D and the S90C, I actually think I would pay the $200 more for the S90D over the S90C because you are going to get that BT 2020 color space by default, and it is 20% brighter than the S90C of last year. So I think it is an improvement over the S90C. Um, and I think that the actual stand design looks better too. Like, I wasn't a big fan of the S90C's like stand. It looks like very cheap. You know what I mean? It looks like the Q70 stand, the way that it
Yeah.
has that like hole in it in the middle. It's
Mm.
like a pedestal stand, but it has like a hole in the middle, and it's I don't know, it just looks really cheap and plasticky. It's funny enough, like the stand for the S90D is very similar, but it actually has like a brushed metal, like fake metal cover for it, so it makes it look very premium. So,
Hmm.
I mean, if you're going for looks, definitely the S90D. And if you're going for performance, I think the S90D over the S90C. For $200 more, I would spend that difference.
Yeah, I did check out the S90C last year, and it reminded me so much of the S95B when it first came out,
Hmm.
and except for all the bells and whistles on certain things,
Yeah.
but pretty much it was pretty identical. I did like the S, and now this might be controversial, but I do like the S90D more than I do the S95D. I just haven't did a review on my channel, but when I was had a chance to look at both TVs, the reason why I like the S90D better is the screen. I
Yeah.
don't know, the whole semi. I
That's
get
fair.
people's point about the S95D, semi gloss. It's, I don't know. It's just not my taste when it comes to screen. That was like a complete turn off. But I could see why Samsung went that route. But it just that's what kind of moved me towards the S90D more, just because I like how the screen is and
Yeah.
stuff, and that's something that and it's way cheaper too. It's like much cheaper, and then I don't like the One Connect box too. That's kind of like the other issue that I have with it. because I was having some issues last year with the S95C,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it came to gaming and cutout and stuff. Stuff that had a lot to do with the One Connect box, and I think if I wasn't mistaken, there's been some reviews and been talked about in the forums about having that same issue. But that's why I kind of like the S90D, because it just seemed like a all around well rounded TV. So
Yeah. Yeah. And so it's a really good point. And I think like that screen coating, that's something we'll have to talk about that. We'll talk about that in a second. But
oh,
I just want to hit this question from Ghost of MS. He said, how is the build quality for the S90D? Ratings didn't rate it high for build quality. It's pretty similar to like the S90C in the build quality. It's got the same kind of design in the back and everything. So it's, similar to that. I don't have a problem with the build quality of the S90D, to be honest with you. I think that it's pretty decent. No complaints there. So yeah, I don't think build quality is an issue personally for the S90D. I know that people ask about build quality because the whole thing that the S95B debacle, you went through that with the whole bent screens and that didn't really become a thing on the S90C last year, so that's really great. And the same thing said this year in the S90D, we haven't heard of any bent screens. So yeah, that's what's up. So I just want to say what's up to some
that's a good
people in
thing.
chat here. We got
Yeah, they've been.
James. Yeah,
Oh,
what's
I was
up?
just gonna say, like, I was just gonna say that Samsung has been doing a lot better job with the packaging, because when the S95B came out, oh, that wasn't great and stuff. So
Yeah. The stream keeps dropping. You guys having dropout issues with the stream? My bad. I didn't know that.
oh
Hopefully
no.
hopefully not. So the question is that the lowest price we're gonna see on the S90C? I believe, yeah, that 1599 is probably the lowest price you'll see unless you end up finding a closeout offer somewhere. So when I told everybody to bite on the 77-inch S90C, it was like 1899 or something, or 1799. It's sold out now. It's sold out. So if you miss your opportunity on the 1799 S90C 77-inch, it's gone now. So yeah, that's why you got to act when they are low, when they're the 2023 models or 2024 models, next year, because the cycle is once they sell out, they're not coming back. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah. And then you could probably even get like a really good warranty too. They might throw that in there.
Yeah.
So if you're on the fence with things.
Yeah, no doubt. So what I have up right now is the comparisons for 65-inch 2024 TVs from both LG and Samsung. And I wanted to pull these up like this because we're talking about like the premium conversation is like, is it worth it to pay $1,000 extra for premium? And I really think it depends on how serious you take your TV watching and like what your actual TV like room environment is, because that could add a whole lot. You mentioned the whole glare-free screen for the S95D. I was actually amazed by that screen at how it was able to keep reflections to a minimum in a super bright environment, right? But it really is going to depend on how the lights hit the TV, because for some people it's going to be a nuisance, but for other people it's actually going to be a super good solution that, will just completely take that mirror like reflection out of the equation. So, you've been in a situation where you see yourself in a screen's reflection, right? No matter where you're at, like maybe in your phone or like, a high brightness area, you see that mirror like reflection. With the S95D, you don't see that at all. So it's just like a diffused kind of glow. It's a pick your poison sort of situation for some people in their room, but I've seen some rooms where people are like, yeah, the S95D is completely like, that is where you want to go with the bright room. So
Yeah, and you're right about that. I think when it comes to where you put in the TV at and the location in your house, for me, it's just like I think they did a good job with the screen, but I'm on the other side of I kind of wish they just it's almost identical to the Sony A80L that came out last TV because it reminded me because their screen is kind of like it's not the same but it's close to like a semi type gloss finish and it looks good depending on where you look at but it's just overall I just never really care for the screen that much.
Hmm. That's fair. Yeah. No, that's definitely fair. I actually haven't gotten your take on the screen, so that's good to hear. I know a lot of people share your like reaction is like I don't like that whole finish. Like, give me my glossy screens. You know, a lot of people share that. So, nah, I definitely understand that sentiment. Like,
And
no
then I
doubt
think it
about
just
it.
gives that illusion as well too that it's just to my eyes it feel like the picture is better even though it's not 100% accurate sort of say but it just seems that way when you look at a gloss screen compared to a
Yeah.
semi gloss screen and those are kind of like the things that it just my preference over it.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. Yeah, and so I've seen the difference though between premium and entry this year, and I'm just gonna say entry for the sake of this argument. When you're talking about the C4, consider that entry versus the G4. I consider that premium. So C4, G4, that jump to me is huge, like gigantic. Like it wasn't really close. So the G4 is on a different level than the C4 this year. And I think the S95D is actually on a different level than the S90D as well as far as brightness and color goes. So you're just stepping into a different like territory of HDR tone mapping in my opinion and just HDR in general. So you know, the way that these TVs work is it all is going to depend on how the tone mapping algorithm is set and how it is in place. And so, how does it control those higher brightness scenes? How much does the TV actually have to tone map? And if it doesn't have to tone map as much, we're going to get a really great HDR experience out of it. So, the more capable the TV, the better it's going to be. And that's always like that's why we're paying high premiums for these TVs is because they are capable. And so that is the whole thing. It's not really about build quality. For me personally, it's all about what the TV is capable of, like 100%. Like, can it drive that brightness of those high graded content? That's what matters at the end of the day for me.
Yeah, so for me, I haven't had a chance to take the G4, so I really can't speak too much about it. But kind of like flipping on like the Sony A95L and even the Samsung S95D,
Hmm.
I think Sony processor is processing has always been like great. And looking at your reviews and looking at other people's reviews about the G4, like LG definitely stepped their game up for the processing
Mm.
and then when I switch over to the Samsung S95D, that's one thing that I'm also disappointed about because it seemed like Samsung never put their best processor when it comes to the QD OLED compared to their mini LED like the QN900D. They always put their best processor with those TVs, but when it comes to the QD OLED, it's kind of like that's where they kind of like lack in that area. And I don't know why they don't want to compete when it comes to Sony and now even LG this year because like LG really stepped their game up with the processing, and that's something that I'm hoping that next year Samsung start to change. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I think they're still going to treat their QD OLED as kind of like the as the person as the stepchild sort of say nothing against people as stepchildren but it's just one of those type of situations that you just have to think like why get the short end of the stick and stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like, so it's a good point. I mean, I really wish I could recommend the A95L more, but like this current price tag, like I don't get it. You know, I don't know why Sony doesn't slash these prices a little bit more to compete with the G4, compete with the S95D because like it's a no-brainer to me. I actually think the S95D and the G4 are better than the A95L anyway. Like I would definitely pick both of those TVs over the A95L. And then when it comes down to the Bravia 9, a lot of people have asked about that. The Bravia 9 is fantastic. It's just going to be for certain people. And so that's always going to be the conversation when we're talking about the premium bracket is the Bravia 9 competing with these other TVs? Yeah, absolutely it is, but it really depends on the environment that you're going to put it in. If you're putting it in a dark room situation, the G4 is absolutely going to be better than the Bravia 9. There's no doubt about it. You know, in a brighter room, the Bravia 9 can get there, you know, to better brightness levels than the G4 can. And that's provided you are watching it in a high brightness mode, like a vivid mode or a mode that you customize to like make sure that you play out more artificial brightness. For example, like cinema mode, you know, it does kind of raise the brightness a little bit, right? So that's one of the things where you're going to get into those conversations of capability wise. The Bravia 9 is certainly more capable than the G4, but in a dark room, if you're watching in more of a reference setting, you're watching movies, the G4 is going to be just the more complete TV in that aspect. So it's also going to be cheaper. And that's the thing, I really wish Sony was more competitive with their pricing. You have an argument for the Bravia 9 at higher sizes, though. So the 4799 at 85-inch is certainly more worth it to me than an 83-inch G4 for 62.99. So like there's that conversation, but at the 65-inch category that we're looking at right now, I think that I would recommend the G4 more for people that are in a dark room. And then if you're somebody who watches vivid mode and you're like constantly blasting the TV in like torch mode like they do at the stores, then that Bravia 9 is going to probably be the best solution for you.
Yeah, so yeah, just like I mentioned earlier, I haven't seen this G4, but when I saw the Bravia 9, I was like, man, this is it's definitely a huge upgrade compared to my X95K over here. And it definitely blows that TV out of the water compared to picture quality from what I'm looking at here. And when I was like looking at the TV and just doing the comparison between the A95L and the Bravia 7, the A90L and the A80L, that was the TV that stuck out to me the most. Now, granted, it was on Vivid Mode, and I did
Mm-hmm.
mention that before and stuff, but if just like how I mentioned at the time when I was looking at the 85 inch X95K, because everybody was giving me a lot of pushback on that screen on that TV. But I know there was some issues with the smaller sizes. But like the 85 inch is just like I felt a little special at the time, and just like the Bravia 9 85 inch, I
Yeah.
didn't see the 65 or the 75 inch, but yeah, it's up there in my opinion as one of the better TVs for of this year, in my opinion. But it all depends on what your preference is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, OLED, I'm not saying it's blowing OLED out the water or it's better than OLED. One thing I could say about the Bravia 9 is that it doesn't have that detail or detail level compared to OLED.
Mm-hmm.
And then the motion is, well, of course, the OLED motion is going to be better,
In
depending
some
on,
cases, yeah.
yeah, in some cases and stuff. I prefer the Bravia 9 motion compared to OLED just because I see some stutter here and
Mm-hmm.
there when it
Yeah.
comes to OLED, and I don't see that with the Bravia 9, even my X95K. But some people may say they may see some smearing, so that's kind of like one of those type of situations, one of those pick and choose scenarios.
Yeah.
But when it comes to depth as well, OLED still has the advantage in the contrast because they got the infinite contrast. But those are kind of like the only things that I'm really, really nitpicking if I'm comparing those two TVs together. But if you didn't have those TVs next to each other,
Yeah.
you would be impressed with the
Exactly.
Bravia 9. And I was just like, I looked at it, and yeah, Sony really stepped their game up on this one and stuff. So it definitely shows. And yeah, when I was walking past the booth, the Sony booth, when I was at Best Buy, I had to just stare at it for like an hour, and the guy just kept asking me questions, and I was like, just let me just look at the demo.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was really that impressed with this. So it convinced me now that I'm going to have to see if I could pick up a 75 inch just to do a review for everyone and get my take on it.
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. Yeah, I got the 65 inch, and I was really impressed with it, man. It's like it's one of those things where you make a really good point. If it's not next to an OLED, chances are you're not going to be like missing that contrast level, you know? Because if it's on by itself, I think that this is the deepest contrast that I've ever seen from a mini LED TV, like by far. Like this is the most detailed, deep contrast that you can get from a mini LED TV thus far. So I haven't had too many like notions where I was like, yeah, I really need that OLED contrast here. I could notice that it was gone because like I review TVs and I have OLED TVs in my house like all the time. So I know what I'm seeing, right? But like somebody jump in from say, a like an older TV to a new TV, like you get a Bravia 9, it could give you that same kind of feeling like you're getting an OLED if you're not used to an OLED, you know? It's just harder for people that are coming from like I don't know. Let's say you bought an S90C last year, but for some reason you don't like something about it, and you're like, "Oh, let me get a Bravia 9." For those people, like I don't think that they're gonna like really think that they're gonna get like a so much better experience out of it. I think they would be shocked that that would more be like a side grade than an upgrade, and it really wouldn't be an upgrade in some cases, and it would be a downgrade in other cases. Like you jump from an S90C to a Bravia 9, you'll get more brightness, but you're gonna lose contrast. You're gonna lose that deep contrast level, and you will feel that if you are used to your S90C, for example. So there's a lot of things to talk about there. And Sony knocks it out of the park with processing. There's no doubt about it. I think that Samsung is having really good processing, but it doesn't like pick and choose the right moments to do things sometimes. I feel like the algorithm that they have in place could be better. Like the content smoothing on the S95D and the S90D, for example, you know, there's times where you would think it'd be sharper than it is, but it's actually like trying to blur things out or like smooth things out, like almost like a airbrush kind of filter type thing on it. And then other times it looks really nice and sharp and premium. But like looking at the S95D compared to the G4 in a lot of scenes, like that sharpness difference, that clarity difference, that depth difference, the G4 is just on another level with that. So like they talk about the three dimensionality that you get with the G4, right? That's absolutely there with the G4. And at times it's there with the S95D, but not all the time. And so when I
Mm,
compared them side by side, that's what I saw. Same thing with the Bravia 9 and the G4. Like I think the G4 is just on a different level with that depth. And the Bravia 9 can get there closer to what the G4 can get there, but since it's not an OLED, it can't get to that same level.
yeah, no, I agree with you with that. For me, if people have the X95K like 2 years ago and they thinking about the Bravia 9,
Mm-hmm.
I would say this is an upgrade. I will say hands down, it is a nice big upgrade. Now, if it was going from an X95K to the X95L,
Mm-hmm.
which is the Bravia 7 now, I
Kind of, yeah.
I want to upgrade. I want to upgrade from that. So I would leave it as in like it's good. You definitely see some benefits here and there, but I wouldn't do that. I want to take that leap and stuff. And I looked at the Bravia 7 now. I think the Bravia 7 is a nice TV as well, but looking at it compared to the Bravia 9, yeah, you see the differences.
Yeah. Modern Wise was asking about the 86-inch Class 99 series QNED. Is it any good? Like, we can talk about some of the LG QNEDs real quick. I think when you're talking about LG and the LCD performance, man, I couldn't have been more like just underwhelmed. It wasn't a bad TV by any means, but I didn't get to check out the 8K version. But I did check out um the Q90, the Q90T or whatever it's called this year. Like, I don't know why they call it the Q90T, but I think it's called the QNED 90T. And I checked that out. I think it should be a TV that's much cheaper than it is. I think it's actually priced pretty cheap now, so it's probably right where it should be. But let me just look it up real quick. I was a little underwhelmed by the performance. So this TV here is definitely more in line with Samsung's QN85D. And I did compare it to the QN85D, and it actually lost to the QN85D. The QN85D had deeper contrast levels, and just more zones in general. So
Mm.
it's $12.99 now, which is about where I would honestly say it sort of belongs there. I would say it probably belongs in a cheaper category because we're talking about, I'd rather have the Hisense U8N over this. I would rather have the TCL QM8, and I'd probably even take the QM7 over this, to be honest with you. So I haven't seen the 99 series, but if we're judging it off of the 90 series, I wouldn't expect the world out of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I'm looking at that 1-star review too, so
Yeah,
that's kind of like a that's
that's
not
the
good.
only review it has, and then the 75-inch has a 5-star review, and then the 86
Oh,
inch
okay.
has 4 reviews for 5 stars. So yeah, maybe a situation where they're better is as you go up in size. I will say this: it is a
Yeah.
VA panel, which a lot of people were like excited about that it's a VA panel. I would say this: don't get excited that it's a VA panel. That's actually a downgrade from the IPS panel that it was using before. Well, it wasn't an IPS; it was an ADS panel that it was using before, and it was so much better than the VA panels that they're using now. I don't know what it is, but it's the same case with the QN85D versus the QN85C. It's the same case with the QN90D versus the QN90C. The QN90C is better than the QN90D, and the QN85C is better than the QN85D. What's the biggest difference between them is the panel type, and
Mm.
that's just a wild thing to me. I would always think that VA was so much better than ADS, but from what I reviewed and from what I see with my own eyes, that is not the case.
Yeah. I I'm just thinking about this. I didn't see this TV in person, so I really can't comment too much. But I know in the past when I looked at LG QNED mini LED TV, I'd never been impressed by it because it seemed like they just put it out there just to put it out there. They don't put in put anything into it compared to their OLED line because the OLED, that's their bread and butter, and the mini LED is just kind of something they just throwing on the side just to put their in their
Mm-hmm.
portfolio like they have it.
Yeah, Immortal says all this talk about LEDs being washed out in dark scenes. What about WOLED and how washed out they get in bright scenes? No one talks about that. I don't know about the washed outness, but like they definitely like will lose brightness, which I guess can make some WOLEDs kind of look a little bit dull. There's no doubt about that. There's the ABL in some of the WOLEDs for sure, and even some of the QD OLEDs still experience ABL. So yeah, that's one of the advantages to like the Bravia 9 that we have is that like you absolutely get the situations where you'll have scenes where OLED will struggle with that scene, but the Bravia 9 knocks it out of the park every time.
Mm.
So it's a pick your poison situation. It's going back to what it used to be for me and LCDs versus OLEDs back when it was really just WOLED versus like a high end, QLED TV. It was like, what do you like? What do you admire? But since QD OLED came out, that sort of like messed it up for LCD TVs. But now I feel like since the Bravia 9 is on that kind of playing field, we're kind of back to that discussion of like, all right, pick your favorites, like what you like the best out of your TV, and you can get there.
Mm. Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's I don't know, just looking at that, the Bravia 9, B9,
mm-hmm.
HDR impact. Yeah,
It's
it's something
crazy.
to behold.
Yeah.
It is crazy good with that HDR impact, and those are kind of like the things that I like the most
Mm-hmm.
from the mini LED technology and stuff because I know that OLED can get there here and there with certain scenes with the specular highlights, but it's just like I just from that Bravia 9, it's just like man, that's
Yeah.
it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, we're talking about value wise, the 65 inch, the G4 is the better value, but like, we're talking about high
Mm.
end, like 85 inch, 83 inch. Like, this is a no brainer to me.
Oh yeah.
Like, that price difference definitely favors always, usually, a 85-inch mini LED. In this case, with the Bravia 9, that is also the case. I mean, it's just more expensive to make OLEDs at higher sizes based on the mother glass, right? So it's just not going to be the easiest thing for them to get the prices down on these OLEDs. But, when you're looking at the price difference here, I'm personally going with the Bravia 9 over the G4, and taking some of the
Oh
downsides.
yeah, for that size.
Yeah,
Yeah, because you're getting a bigger size, 85 inch compared to 83 inch,
yeah.
and you're paying. That's a huge difference. And I will say this, I think when it comes to closer towards the holidays, Christmas time, I can see the Bravia 9 probably going to hit the 4,000 mark, where it's like 399.99 or whatever it is. Because I have seen that happen before. So,
Hmm.
and then I think probably LG will probably go down to high high fours, maybe low fives and stuff. But I don't think it's going to be that huge of a price drop compared to like the Bravia 9.
Yeah,
But I'm
yeah.
just talking about the 85 inch.
Right.
I'm
I
not
see
talking about
that price
65 or
too.
75.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah,
I see that 3,999 for the Bravia 9 at Black Friday. I see that. And
yeah,
then, you know, the 83-inch. I mean, maybe we're looking at 4,999, maybe 4,799. Definitely,
yeah,
one of those things.
yeah. Yeah, it just seemed like anything over 77 inch for OLED, it just seemed like they can't go too much down in price for 83 inch
Hmm.
and stuff. Just like we was talking about the whole mother glass size. It's just they can't discount it for just because I mean they just can't make up the margin for it. And it's just like for the Sony on the other hand, or just mini LED TVs in general, like TCL or Hisense or Sony or Samsung, they could easily discount their price a lot lower
Yeah,
because of it.
that's a good point. I mean, let's see. You still there?
Oh yeah, I'm still
Okay.
here.
All right. I thought I lost you for a sec. All right. Let me pull up.
Oh no, I was looking at the comments. It seemed
Yeah,
like
yeah. So we got a super
everybody's
chat
talking
from
about G4
James.
is better, and
Yeah.
the other people saying no, the Bravia 9 is better. I'll say if you're looking for an 85 inch or you're looking at an 83 inch, I think the Bravia 9 it
It's
will
just the
be the
price.
better
Yeah. Like,
TV just because of the price and
yeah,
stuff.
that
But if we're
price
talking
is
about
just different.
65 inch, 75 inch, and those are the discussions that need to be had.
Yeah. No, I agree. All right. So, I have a super chat from James asking about the TCLs and the Hisense U8N. So let's pull those two up real quick and kind of discuss like what I've seen from them. I haven't formally reviewed them yet, so I can't speak too highly or not highly above them. So about them, but I do know some of the differences and price wise. Looking at them right now, the U8N is definitely a better value. What's the better TV? That's really hard to say. Like you mentioned the ADS Pro panel. I love the ADS Pro panel. I think it's an awesome panel. Um, so that's not a bad panel by any means. And price wise, you get the better value with the U8N right now. So like I said, I'm not reviewing them just yet, but they are on the the docket to review. I actually have the U8N en route, so I had a problem with the U8N that I had, so I had to ship it back, and now we're waiting for the U8N to come back. But yep. So
Yeah,
let's see. I mean, the QM8 is one that I hope to pick up eventually.
yeah, and I think their price has always been good, but it's just my only issue is just the processing part. And when I'm talking
Mm,
about like processing, I'm not talking about like looking at HDR or HD content.
yeah,
I'm talking about more like SDR type stuff and
yeah.
or regular
Upscaling
regular
and
stuff. Yeah, upscaling or
yeah,
watching sports and stuff like that. Those are kind of like where I see their faults when it comes to that, especially when it comes to motion.
Mm-hmm.
TCL. I mean, Hisense. I think they got a little bit better, but that's kind of like my only issues with both TCL and Hisense. Just
Yeah.
it's really just motion and the upscaling part.
Yeah. No, and I'm gonna bring up the Bravia 7 and the QN90C. And I really don't want to bring up the QN90D because I don't believe in the TV as like recommending it. The Bravia 7 um 75 inch looks like, man, this was on sale. What happened? It's not on sale anymore. All right, I don't
Not
know.
no more.
Yeah. Well, I kind of want to take the Bravia 7 out of this equation now. So, all right. Because I can't really like recommend it for that price. But all right, let's look at these three. If you're just talking about like what do you want out of your TV? To me, like when I'm looking at these three, I think like if you want the high brightness, the high impact, you go with TCL or Hisense for that, right? If you want just like a more complete gaming experience, for example, I like the QN90C a lot for gaming. I really love Game Motion Plus, for example, things like that. But since he was asking about those two, I did want to just kind of bring up QN90C as a possibility in the equation, because it is going to be around the same price, and then cheaper than the QM8. So,
Mm,
but they are certainly brighter, like on paper, right? But on paper brightness versus like actual on screen brightness is totally different. And I would say that they're very similar on screen brightness in most cases.
okay, yeah, and that's something that I haven't had a chance to like review as well. So that's something that I just need to think about. Is just yeah, I may try to see if I could do something for this year for them, both of them and stuff. But I
Yeah.
know they made some good improvements, so
Yeah,
I'm
no doubt.
interested to see.
I have the U7N and I like it a lot. I think that that's one of the ones where they did a really good job for the price. They always kind of like knock it out of the park for the price, right? You get a premium remote, which is awesome. So that's always good because not
Hmm.
everybody offers that premium remote. But yeah, James, I for me it's hard to kind of decide. I think that I would sort of just go with the one that has the most features for you, and then also the price difference favors the U8N. But I have heard really positive things about the QM8 this year, especially the game mode performance. I heard the game mode performance for the QM8 is absolutely incredible. So I can't wait to check it out myself. But thank you, James, for that
Yeah,
super chat.
and that's a lot to say too, because
Hmm.
I think last year's model they said it was decent, but it's not great. But hearing that they made some major improvements this year, that's good things. I mean, that's one thing I can say about TCL and even in the Hisense too. They constantly keep making really good improvements too, and so I definitely salute to them with that. I just wish they just it's just the processing part. It's like if they could just knock it out the park with the processing,
Yeah.
like they already got the technology down with the mini LEDs, and they put everything they possibly can when it comes to features and stuff. They doing everything they can for the gaming, but it's like if they could just get the processing right, then man, they both of those companies would be yeah, those are the companies to watch out for.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And then like we look at 75-inch TV values, they're definitely in the favor of um, LCD TVs and stuff, but you still have things like the B 3 from last year. I think that's 17.99, so that's not bad, and you're still gonna get OLED picture quality out of that. It's a W OLED just like the C3, and only just a little bit off from it. Not too much of a difference, to be honest with you. Um, and so like I'm really hoping that the S95C gets clearanced out a little bit more this year. The Bravia 8 pricing right now for me is just a little bit too high for 77 inch. So
Mhm.
it's really decent for like a 55 inch. And I like the Bravia 8. I have that right now in for review, and I think this is an incredible TV. There's things about it that I like better than the C4, and then there's
Hmm.
things about it that, I like the C4 a little bit better on. The S90D is still to me the better TV of all three, just because of the gaming performance, the color brightness. But if we're just talking about like watching movies on it and watching TV shows and having just the TV do the best job it can with processing, to me the Bravia 8 still kills like it in that category, right? It's still the top TV in that category for that price range. And then like the 55 inch right now, you can get it $200 off if you're a Plus member, so you can get it for $15.99, which isn't too bad. But the S90D 55 inch right now, if you're a Plus member, you can get that for $13.99. So it's like that price difference. Give me the S90D all day long. I'm not paying
Hmm.
like that difference for like not much of a difference in picture quality, and just you get a better gaming performance. So yeah, I think that the S90D is a really good value right now. So
Yeah,
that's
you know
something you
what's
want to look
funny?
into. And 77 inch is also going to be 25.99 if you have Best Buy Plus, which is pretty good.
Mm. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
real good. I was just about to say when I was looking at Best Buy just a second ago, I was looking at Sony TVs. They still got the Sony Z9K, and that thing is still expensive. And I
Yeah,
was like,
I'm
whoa.
surprised it's still in stock.
I'm just thinking, like, why they still got it at that price though?
Yeah.
That is yeah, just got to pull it up for a second. I was like, that
Oh yeah, yeah.
is.
Let me pull that up real quick. Where
Yeah, I
is it?
looked at that. I was like, this
That
is.
right there, Z9K.
They
Yeah,
didn't
man.
even touch it. They're like,
54.99. That's 75 inch Z9K. Let's go. No, just get a
so that's
Bravia
our
9.
price.
Like
Yeah,
Bravia
yeah.
9 is so
But
much
you,
better than that TV. So much better than that TV. It's not even close. Like it's
but
not
people
even
gonna look at
close.
it as AK.
Yeah.
People gonna say it's AK though.
No. You can get a Bravia 9 for 34.99. Oh, get that. It's not
And that's the
bad.
crazy part too. So you're saving money on the Bravia 9 compared to the Z9K, and that's the
Yeah.
crazy part.
Yeah. That's one of the things. Like I think that's just gonna sit in their warehouse. Nobody gonna buy it. Who's gonna buy that? Somebody that wants 8K, I guess, and wants a Sony. I don't know. Like I mean, the
Yeah,
QN900D is gonna be better than that if you want 8K. Like
yeah.
I was impressed with the QN900D. I thought that TV was really awesome. But here's what I'm talking about, like budget OLEDs for 77 inch. You got the B3 here. Not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah.
So we got budget OLEDs. We talked about S90D is probably going to be your best bet. Honestly, it's not budget, but it's going to be close to what you can get a budget OLED for. I believe the budget OLED right now is the B4, and it's hardly a budget OLED. It's still an OLED. I loved the B4. I thought that it looked almost as good as the C4. It just lacked a little bit of brightness compared to the C4, but actually had better processing than the C4, surprisingly. Um,
Hmm.
and it didn't have as much temporary image retention in game mode, for example, and it held on to color better, which was odd as well. So, yeah, processing could get some work. And then we got talking about the Black Friday estimate, first number that pops in your head. Well, I kind of already know it, so I'm not gonna say it. I don't really have estimate anymore because I know the price now. 3600
Hmm.
is mine. It's lower than that, so you'll be happy to know that. And I will. That's a little teaser, but I'll get to that in a second.
Oh yeah, I'm
Um,
kind of curious of what your price for Black
yeah,
Friday. I have no idea specifically. The only thing I guess is the Bravia 9 because it seemed like when that TV came out, it seemed like Sony has been like heavily discounting that price on the TV, which is kind of shocking to me and stuff. So
yeah. And Fly High thinks that OLEDs are better than the B9 apparently because he's got every OLED out there listed above the
hey,
B9. It's all about
I'm happy.
preference, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's all
I
about
say
what
hey,
you
that's
like.
that's all is what you like. and stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know that HDR impact. I would take that over the S90D, but it depends what size you're talking about too. So it's like 85 inch. Yeah, they don't even make a 83-inch S90. Well, hold on for a minute. Take it back. They do make a S90D,
Oh,
but that's a W. Was it a W OLED?
yeah.
Yeah. So I just had to think about that. It's not QD
Hmm.
OLED. So
Yep.
I had to make sure I had to be careful about that.
Yeah, correct. Everything 42 inch, 48 inch, 83 inch is all WOLED.
Yeah.
So, modern wise, I was asking, did you compare the QN900C to the QN900D? I did not. But he didn't see any difference side by side. That doesn't really surprise me, to be honest. Like, going from year to year, you're not gonna see a huge jump, but there's like a difference in the AI processing. But the AI processing really is only going to matter for certain content. Um, I thought that the upscaling on the QN900D was incredible. I thought that the edge enhancement was really good as well. It's something that I kind of wish would carry over to their other Samsung TVs because I thought the edge enhancement on the QN900D was just really good. Um, so I would love to see that like trickle down to their other TV lineups.
Yeah. Let's see what happens with it. I, it's just like that's one thing I thought about with Samsung with their 8K lineup and is I didn't see too much of a difference
Yeah.
between from my experience. Uh, and that's something that I'm hoping that they do something for next year. I think they will now since Sony has been stepping their game up. And when I was looking at the QN900D, I wasn't all that impressed with it. I felt it was just like okay, it's nice, but when it came to the Bravia 9, I was like, no, this is night and day difference and stuff. That's definitely a worthy upgrade. But the if you're going from a QN 900C to a D, I really don't see too much of a difference.
Yeah. Yeah, and James Hastings was asking about out of the OLEDs, what 65 inch, 77 inch under 2000 would you recommend? So the only 77 inch under 2000 right now for OLED, at least currently on like the sales, you might be able to find something in your area a little bit different priced, but 77 inch, this is really just going to be the B3 for 17.99 because the S90C is sold out. That was 17.99. That's the one that I was like, hey, buy it. Go buy it. I was like, go buy it. It's going to disappear soon. I kept telling people,
Oh
like, go buy it. Um,
yeah,
and now it's
James.
gone. So, but,
Just to add to it, James to say he's coming from a 65-inch Vizio,
oh, pff,
and the G1, and I'm
M
like,
series, huh? Okay.
oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
there's gonna be upgrade for you.
every TV you buy in that price range is going to be like
Oops.
just a gigantic upgrade, you know? Um, 75-inch mini LED. Like if you want that immersion, I would probably go with the 75-inch mini LED TV over 65-inch OLED for sure.
Oh
There's no
yeah.
doubt about that. So like if you have the space for a 75-inch, go with that mini LED TV. Like I said, I think that Samsung gets it really close to, being close to the OLED like as possible, except for like your small specular highlights. Just not gonna be as bright as OLED, unfortunately. So, um, in that price bracket, like I really like the S or the QN90C 75 inch. U8N does a really good job with the blacks as well. Um,
Oh yeah, they really getting really good.
yeah, both the
Pricing with
U8N
that.
and the QM8 are okay at that. Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, it's just the only thing. It's just a processing part. That's the only thing. They hitting it with the black levels and the blooming department. It's just the
Ah,
processing.
yeah, I did something. I moved. All right. Yeah. So blooming is like one of the things. Like maybe you don't like it. Maybe you can't stand it when you see it. It's hard to say because like not a lot of people are going to notice it even unless they go looking for it. But it really does depend on the TV. There's some TVs that are absolutely worse than others at blooming, and the less zones. usually the more blooming you'll see. Typically, there is examples where yeah they do a better job with smaller amounts of zones. Some Sony TVs come to mind, but you still will see blooming on those smaller zone TVs, and even on the bigger zone TVs, you'll still see it, but it's less prevalent.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think you really could need it, but I think majority of the time, like with the X95K, my 85 inch, yeah, you see some blooming. That's something that I always talked about and stuff. It's not perfect, but at the same time too, it's nothing. It's not as bad as you think it is and stuff. So
Yeah,
um, those are kind of like the things that I want to mention. But if you talking about like compared to a B9, oh yeah, it's like I said, they're doing a good job. So I think each year, that's one thing I do want to kind of like iterate to
hmm,
with the mini LEDs specifically against OLED technology. I I haven't seen the G4, and I talked about that earlier today, but I see like incremental improvements, especially with the QD OLED
yeah,
technology. And LG, besides the G4, like the C4 and the C3, are small improvements. But
hmm,
it's like with mini LED, it's like I see they are taking like huge steps in the
yeah.
right direction.
No, it's
And
true.
those are kind
It's
of like that I
true.
see each year is kind of like, yeah, it's going over the 3,000. It was like a couple years ago, it's like they hit the 2,000 net area, and then it's 3,000 nits, and then it's 4,000 nits, and then you got some companies claiming 5,000 nits.
Right.
And then at the same time, too, they are still retaining minimum blooming with great blacks and stuff, and they're doing better with the processing and motion. And it's like with OLEDs, it's like they always been great,
Hmm.
but you just don't see those huge leap and bounds like until Samsung came out with the S95B and stuff
Yeah.
like that. That's where you saw like the really big
Exactly.
leap. Yeah. But now it's kind of like you see minor improvements here and there, but it's not like huge improvements like how mini LED is doing.
Yeah, it's definitely more gradual. I would say though, like what OLED's doing is more impressive to get to the brightness levels that they're at now. I never thought that was going to be possible about 4 or 5 years ago. To be honest with you, I thought that like they're gonna max out at like 800, right? Like I was told that they're not gonna get much brighter than this, and for them to end up getting brighter, to do QD OLED, to figure out MLA with OLED, I think those are all like really impressive leaps. And what you're gonna see with like phosphorus OLED and things going forward, it's gonna be very impressive on that self-emissive front. It's gonna take some time, but like what the future holds for like self-emissive technology is very exciting. But you make a really good point on LCD side of things. That's also getting big improvements, right? We're talking about the mini LED drivers getting smaller and having more dense capabilities, like more control over certain like lighting zones than in the past, where it would just turn it off and on. You actually have like steps to your dimming process now to make it get closer to what you would see out of OLED contrast, but not quite there. You'll never quite match an OLED with contrast. It's just not going to be possible to match a self-emissive TV. But we're getting closer, and it looks really good. What I see out of the Bravia 9 is fantastic. So love to see improvements on all fronts, because I hate when it's just like one sided. Like it's always OLED, and everybody says, "Oh, there's an OLED bias." It's like no, OLED is just the dominant like side right now. And the Bravia 9 helps that a little bit. So things like the Bravia 9. And then certainly when we're talking about the entry level category, things like the U8N and the QM8 help a lot too. Not entry level, but I should say like mid range, I guess.
Yeah, I think this year was a really good improvement. I mean, from what you were telling me from the G4, and I wish I could see it, but it seemed like LG made some really good improvements this year compared to
Hmm.
their G3 model. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what's gonna what's the year's gonna come and stuff.
yeah.
So
Well, you know how hard I was on LG last year. Like I was probably one of LG's biggest critics when it comes down to like the G3 and when it came down to
I
the
was,
C3, and I just think they knocked it out of the park this year with the G4. Like they did such a good job, and like H2 Jack is asking, is the G4 65-inch a good TV? Yeah, I would say it definitely is a good TV. It's a fantastic TV. So no doubt about it, the G4 for me is my personal like I would take that OLED over most OLEDs right now just because of the
mm,
picture depth. You know, if we're talking about gaming, I still take the S95D over it, but you definitely have to be in a dark room. Otherwise, like that screen coating is going to be a no go for a lot of people. In a dark room, I'm telling you that screen coating does not make a difference. So, S95D for me in a dark room is fantastic for gaming, but I still take G4 for movies. Like I just there's something about that picture depth that they did this year is just it hits different. Like I don't know how else to explain it. And by the way, I just want to say I'm gonna have all the links for the TV deals that we're talking about in the description for the YouTube video that's going on right now, the YouTube live. And then also, if you guys are watching this and you're enjoying this TV, like kind of like comparison of shopping, hit the like button. It does go a long way to helping out the channel. I appreciate that. And also, make sure you check out Max's channel when you guys get a chance. He has some TV reviews that are really relevant that are going to be for 2023 TVs. And he just put out a video talking about his impressions of the BRAVIA 9 when he first saw it. So definitely go check his channel out when you get a chance.
definitely appreciate that. Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely gonna be doing some more reviews too. So
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's good to have you back. I think that's so awesome.
uh, oh, thanks. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, I'm ready to get back in the game again and stuff. So just trying to remember how to edit like I used to.
Yeah.
So I gotta get back in the groove. So, but no, it's I'm happy and stuff like that. So
Yeah. So I got something for you guys right now. It's a little bit of a look inside of what's going on for like TVs for LG. Potentially, this might be like what the Black Friday price for the 77-inch OLED might be. So I'm at the LG partner store. By the way, I do have a link to that in the description. If you go to the LG website, then you can go to LG partner store. And if you are a military member or a first responder or maybe an education discount applies there too. I'm not sure exactly, but definitely look into it because that's one of the things where we have to like call out the discounts when we see them. Awesome, just awesome discounts on LG OLED TVs right now if you fall into that discount program. So if you are able to get some of these discounts, right now we're looking at a 77-inch OLED G4 for $2,999. An absolute just great deal when it comes down to the G4. I believe it's currently $1,000 more right now. And what's interesting about this is that it says Black Friday price on it. So I'm thinking that $2,999 might be the Black Friday price. Otherwise, why would they mark Black Friday price?
yeah,
You know what I mean?
that's a very good that's a good catch.
Yeah. So I'm thinking
That's a
that that
really
might actually be the Black Friday price, guys. And if you guys
that's a really
are,
good price too.
yeah, first responders, military, like go get that discount. Get that G4 for Black Friday price right now. Don't have to wait till Black Friday, just get it right now. That's an awesome deal that they got going on. They have other sizes as well, but those do not say the Black Friday price on them, but they are at a discount. So if the 65-inch is 2,519, the 55-inch is 2,069. So and then the 83-inch is 5,669. But I really did want to highlight this one though because the 77-inch says that it is indeed Black Friday price. So cool,
Mhm.
really awesome. I can't wait to see that. So here's a look at the prices again on the bottom, where you can see this is not the Black Friday price for the other sizes per se because there's not a thing that says Black Friday price on them when you highlight. Like I'll go to the 65 real quick and you can see that there is no Black Friday price marker on there like there was before. So that's one of the things that I did want to point out, that yeah, it's really the 77-inch that is the Black Friday price. And that tells me that's probably the Black Friday price. So maybe potentially we know the Black Friday price for the S95D as well. $2,999 for the 77-inch, since they usually match. And I have to look in the past on what I believe it was around that price for the G3, and it was around that price for the S95. See, I have to double check to see.
Yeah, that's a really good price. It
Yeah.
would be crazy that if it's lower than that. So,
I don't think it's
but
gonna be lower than that.
I don't think it will. I don't think
Nah.
it will. That's a really good price.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a really ridiculously good price for a premium OLED TV like that. 77-inch does not come with the stand. You are correct. So the 65-inch comes with a stand, and the 55-inch comes with a stand and no wall mount. But 77, 83, and 97 comes with the wall mount instead of a stand, which is a pretty good change, I think. You know, most people buying 55, 65, they might want a stand. So it's nice to see them changing that. So yeah, I just wanted to highlight that because I thought that was pretty cool. Definitely look into the discount programs whenever you can. Samsung also has a discount program you should check into as well. So you can often find TVs for mega cheap. So I'm gonna open this up to Q&A, and then we'll wrap and kind of like just talk about what you could expect maybe in the future for TVs. But like, if you guys have any questions, pop them in the chat. One of the best ways to do so is super chat. You'll get an instant response, but it also helps support the channel, and I do appreciate that. But you could just ask a question, and I'll get to it as we go on. So ask your questions in the chat, and I'll pop them up on the screen. Thank you guys so much. So let's see if there's any like comparison questions. I know I like when people are like knowing what they want, but they're like stuck between two different models. You know what I mean?
Well, here's a question. So for gaming wise, what do you think is the better TV? You like the S95D for gaming compared to the G4, or vice versa?
Yeah, that's a good question. Let's see. Let me pop that up from Trish. Yeah. Wait, no, that was Z3. Z3 OLED would be pretty cool for gaming, I would imagine. Yes. But that's not the question you're talking about. Do you know who asked that question? So I can pop it up.
Oh no, I was just asking.
Oh, just in general. Okay.
Yeah, I was just talking about just in general.
Just in general, like, what's the better gaming TV between what?
That's 95D and the G4.
Oh, okay. So for me, to me, like, I would rather have the S95D for gaming if you are in a dark room, for example, and that screen coating is not a problem. Or if you're in a bright room and that screen coating is not a problem. To me, I just think it does better with gaming. I love the game mode features. And ultimately, what it boils down to is the feature set. I like the S95D's feature set better, and the color brightness capability is more noticeable in game mode. So one advantage that the S95D has over the G4 is color brightness, and there's no doubt about it. There's no way to like right around that. Like, you can't get around the color brightness difference that you have with the S95D compared to the G4. The S95D is just going to have that color brightness advantage because it is a QD OLED. And it's certainly more noticeable too because LG's tone mapping, for whatever reason, is super aggressive, and it just ducks color so much. It like takes the color out. Like, color is just going to be eliminated sometimes from the default tone mapping. I don't know why that is, but that is the case. If you go to professional mode tone mapping, you can get the G4 to look a little bit better with the color. But at the default values, like you will not have as good color brightness compared to the S95D. So
Mm.
yeah, kind of a bummer on that sense. But so game mode though is really great for the G4 still, like way better than it has been in the past. And I think both are going to be fantastic gaming TVs. It boils down to like, what do you want out of your TV? If you're gaming mostly though, like 100% gaming, I go with the S95D. But if you watch movies or something, man, the G4, there's nothing like that picture quality.
Mm. Yeah, so that's just the question.
Yeah,
That's
no,
the
that's a
question
really
was
good
when you.
question. Yeah.
Yeah, I was because I know you always been giving the LG a lot of headache, especially when it came to SDR gaming and stuff like that. So seeing that they've made some improvements is that's good to know.
Hey, Mr. Walker, I play the Switch docked. He said, "Who plays the Switch docked anyway?" I do. I don't know. I don't think I've ever
Oh
put it in
yeah,
the handheld mode unless I went on a plane. That's it.
I just thought about that. Yeah, because we got the Switch too, and I play it with the kids,
Yeah,
and they always love it docked because we be
yeah,
playing like Mario Kart and Super Smash Brothers. So yeah, I can attest to that. The kids like it.
yep. And people are asking me, why do I use Best Buy a lot? Personally, the reason why I use it is because they're just flexible with their TVs, like 90-day returns or 60-day returns if you have Best Buy Plus. So it's like, if you have a problem with the TV, then you have no worries. If the TV drops in price, then you can just like request a price drop. So that's why I like using it, because TV prices always change. And if I'm buying a TV, I want that like security of like, if there's a price drop, I don't have to fight with anybody. I just hit up Best Buy chat and say, "Hey, can you adjust the price?" And they do. So it's really nice to have that price adjustment, especially let's say you want to buy for Black Friday, right? But you want your TV sooner. You can buy it 60 days before that Black Friday price kicks in, and then you can just ask for a price request once those Black Friday prices hit. And that's kind of my hack for people that want a TV sooner on Black Friday, is just buy it sooner, like 60 days before you know those Black Friday prices are going to come out. And I'll tell you, at the end of October, those Black Friday prices will be live. So you can plan around
Mm.
it like that. Or if you want to be super conservative, just buy it 2 months before November and you're good. Like you're locked in no matter what.
Oh yeah, because they get that guarantee for what beginning of the year or something like that. So
Oh,
so
that
yeah,
too. Yeah, like the holiday. Once the holiday return policy pops in, then you're good until like January
yeah. So you can have the TV for what 3 months or something like that, and get
if it
it
drops.
price adjusted. Yeah, if it drops. So that's always a benefit.
Yeah, no doubt.
And then the question is too is I mean, what other websites or any other stores besides Best Buy we could really look at and stuff. So I know there's like Value Electronics and
Yeah. Well, I
um
use the Best Buy website because it's really
oh,
easy to like navigate TVs.
yeah.
That's it. That's
I
the
was just
only
thinking
reason
about
why I
that
use
too.
it. But I
Yeah.
can use Amazon as well. But Amazon's so
Yeah,
convoluted because there's so
Amazon.
many third party sellers, and then they have like bundle deals with like HDMI cables that are like kind of clogging up everything. I'm like, okay, I still
Yeah,
use
and that's the issue
Amazon,
too.
but yeah, it's just browsing. The browsing capability is why I use it. Because somebody was
Yeah.
asking, like, is this sponsored by Best Buy? This is not sponsored by Best Buy. I don't have
We
a
wish.
sponsorship. Yeah, if Best Buy did sponsor this, I'll let you guys know for sure. But they do not. But I do have
Oh yeah,
affiliate
we have to
links
disclose
for
that.
them. You know, yeah, I have affiliate links for Best Buy, but I also have them for Amazon and LG and Samsung. So, like, wherever you buy your TV from, like, I definitely have affiliate links there. And using
Yeah.
them like helps me out. So I appreciate you guys for using those affiliate links. You guys are like the real MVPs when you use those. So thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, why do people rate the G4 lower than the QN90C? I think it comes down to the whole like OLED versus LCD debate. You can kind of consider the QN90C as like a baby Bravia 9. It's not the Bravia 9. I'll tell you right now, the QN90C is not the Bravia 9. The Q90C would lose to the Bravia 9 side by side. And so, like, you still get advantages to the Q90C over something like the G4 in some cases. Very rarely, though. Very rarely. And we're talking about brightness levels. The G4 can get to the same brightness levels as the Q90C most of the time. And contrast wise, the G4 is just on another level compared to the Q90C. And picture depth wise, that processing, like I said, I don't know what LG did this year. There's a magical sauce that they put in their system. Like I don't know what this A11 is doing, but it's fantastic, man. The G4, I cannot say enough like great things about. So that's why they rate it a little bit lower than the Q90C. Because it's really just that contrast difference, and you can get to the same brightness levels. So yeah. Q90C and
Here's a question.
C4, now that's a little bit more of a debate.
Yeah. So there's a question about rumors about Sony's going back to WOLED for their next flagship. That would be interesting.
I haven't seen that rumor.
Um,
Where's that at? Who said that?
Immortal Tale 72, 79.
I heard Sony is going
Um,
back to WOLED for the next flagship. So this would have to be like MLA. They're so impressed with MLA. And they just do not like what Samsung is doing with the QD OLED. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's a Generation 4 QD OLED. If that's the case, I don't think Sony is going to go with WOLED if there is a Generation 4 QD OLED being introduced. But let's say there's not a Generation 4 QD OLED being introduced, but MLA 3.0 comes out or something like that, right? Then I think Sony's just going to go with the best one, the brightest one, the one that's more capable. Like, I think that's what they'll go with. So, the newer one, they're always trying to go with the highest end, top notch technology for their flagship. The reason why they switched
mhm.
it up this year is because they didn't see, most likely. Now, this is just, all right. The reason why I think they went with what they did this year is because they didn't see enough improvement from year to year, from QD OLED 3 or 2 to 3. You know, they didn't see enough of a jump, a reason why that they would take something and compete with the A95L, because that difference, there wouldn't be much of a difference. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So like that's
Yeah.
why I feel they went that route. Um, and so this year I would be shocked. Next year I would be shocked if they didn't go to QD OLED again, unless of course they don't have a new QD OLED generation at CES and it's just a new MLA generation. Then I see them going to WOLED. That's the only way, personally. That's just me.
To be honest with you, I don't know. I don't know what Sony is doing. We thought that Sony was abandoning LED TVs, mini LED TVs for a long time, LCD TVs for a long time, and all of a sudden they just came back with a vengeance with the Bravia 9. So I don't know. I don't know what Sony is going to do. So it all depends on see what happens next year and stuff. So I leave myself as an I don't know category. That would be
Yeah.
interesting if they would go back, go to WOLED. So
That's a good question. How low do you think the 83-inch G4 will go? I think maybe 5,000 is the lowest. I think that's probably be
yeah,
the
I
lowest.
think that TV
5,000 is where I
that's
would
gonna
say.
be 5,000
Maybe
or I'll even throw
47.99,
in.
like maybe
I was
something
just
like
about to
that.
say that.
Yeah. Like
Yeah,
maybe a weird
yeah, that
number
was
like
exactly my
that.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
that
see
would
it
be my
going much
price.
lower
I
though.
think that would be the lowest I see. Yeah,
Hmm.
that would be my lowest.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
but
that
for
83
some
inch
reason,
OLEDs are expensive. They're really expensive.
yeah,
Like you
it's
still won't even see WOLED go down past like 3,000 very much.
yeah, because it's just that glass is so expensive.
Hmm. And you add in the MLA layer, so that's another expense for them.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the other question too. Um, I don't know. That's why I say go with mini LED in certain categories and stuff. If price were a huge factor for people and stuff. So now the question is, now a good question is like if people are thinking like, should I just go with G3 83-inch or G4 83-inch? That's a very that would be a really good question and stuff.
Mm,
Because the
yeah,
thing is that the G3 doesn't have the MLA technology like the
right.
G4 does.
Yeah, that's a
And so
huge
that's kind of like
difference.
this.
Yeah, that's a huge
I don't
difference.
know.
Yeah,
That's a huge difference and stuff. So
yeah,
I probably in this case is if you, depending on your budget,
yeah.
that's the huge factor,
If you got the
and you
cash,
have to have OLED.
if you're shopping for an 83-inch OLED, you probably got the cash. But um, that's why like when I'm thinking in those higher end ranges, I'm always like leaning towards it. It's probably better to pay more when you can because like you're keeping the TV for a while. You don't want any regrets. You want no regrets whatsoever. So when people are asking me like 77-inch, um, bad example. All right, let's go 65-inch. 65-inch S90D 1799 or S90C for 1599. You're keeping this TV for a while, just get the newer one. And I also think that the S90D is just a better TV. But, that's the situations where like, yeah, just pay that $200 extra, get the newer one.
Hmm.
I didn't like the G3 either. Modern wise, great comment. I don't see how people are saying the G3 is very similar to the G4. No, it is not. I've seen the G3 last year. It is not. It is nothing like the G4. It's not. It's just not. So, like when I see people say, "Oh, the G4 is just a small improvement over the G3." No, what are you talking about? The G3 was terrible in game mode. Like it was terrible in game mode. So the color brightness in game mode was very lackluster. Like I could
Hmm.
barely tell it apart from the C3, in game mode. Like that's how bad it was. So yeah, I never liked the G3 for game mode. I thought, it could get bright. It was impressive there, but it never just had that same level of like, wow. Like the S95C. When I put it next to S95C, I was like, I would most likely take the S95C most of the time. They're similar in a lot of scenes, but most of the time I'm just taking the S95C. And then when I put it up against an S90C, that's when I was like, there's nothing really special about the G3 because game mode's just better on the S90C. And then in regular content, the S90C and the G3, they're, similar there in most cases. Unless you're really going to put the TV into like vivid mode, then the G3 is like going to exceed it by a lot. But it was really just a brightness, like wow factor for the G3 last year. This year, though, the G4, it's a wow factor on so many levels, not just game mode, which wasn't a thing for the G3 last year, but that picture depth was just not a thing for the G4 as much as it is this year. And the G3 had it somewhat last year, but only when you engage dynamic tone mapping. But that dynamic tone mapping also kind of messed things up. This year, you don't need dynamic tone mapping because it's always doing some sort of dynamic tone mapping behind the scenes, which a lot of reasons why purists don't even like this TV because this TV is doing its own like tone mapping algorithm and even another like kind of what Sony is doing with their dynamic tone mapping, how it's always on. LG is doing a very similar thing to what Sony's doing, where it's always doing some sort of like extra manipulation behind the scenes with the gamma, and you're just gonna see a different result from the G4 that the G3 does not have. So I hope that makes sense for people. Like you gotta see it to believe it.
So there you
Like,
go.
yeah,
Yeah.
it was
So there you
different. It was
go.
on a different level.
So LG definitely is listening and stuff because we was giving them a lot of grief last year with the G3.
Hmm.
So asking why didn't I go in QD OLED technology, and they saying like, no, we got something up our sleeve.
Yeah, I actually have a video coming up about that where talking about like everybody buries W OLED and like rightfully so, I think, for a little bit. Like there was a case where it's like, why would you even buy a W OLED with QD OLED existing? But like this year, LG was like, "Here, hold my beer," and they showed us the G4, and I was like, "Dang, you know what? I'll buy this over a QD OLED." So LG was right in some senses, so I can't really argue with them. I don't know, but it makes me
It's
think
that
like if
trust.
LG did the QD OLED, they would be pretty awesome.
It's that
So
trust in LG. He said, we're listening. We got our ears to the ground. We're hearing. Wait till next year. It's gonna
yeah,
get better. That's what they keep doing.
yeah. And then will Sony go back to QD OLED in 2025? Absolutely, I do believe that. I do believe that is what they'll do. It would shock me if they did anything else. Um,
Yeah.
it would completely shock me. The Bravia 10, which is probably what they're gonna call it, is going to be a QD OLED.
Oh, there's a funny comment. He said, if QD OLED technology dies, he said, I'm keeping my Barbie at 9 for 10 years.
Wow.
Wow,
Yeah, I mean,
that's a
Bravia 9
bold
is
statement right there.
fantastic. And I could see why people say they can't go back to WOLED because they're
Yeah.
thinking about WOLED in the sense of old, like WOLED without MLA. I think with MLA, it's so much better than it was before. Like MLA helps it so much. It helps it so much. But that color brightness thing, that is very real. And it's not just because of the panel technology though. That's the thing. This is LG's algorithm. Whatever they're doing with their tone mapping, you lose brightness at on high graded content. You will lose brightness because the TV has to tone map, and it tone maps so aggressively where you lose that brightness. So, um, the reason why I called it out like that is because not everybody's gonna go into professional mode and change it. Because like I'll go into professional mode, it looks really good. All of a sudden, it's like trading blows with the S95D at times. But if you don't do that, it's like not a contest. So, I would like to see LG work on the tone mapping algorithm for sure, the default one. But I mean, if you're getting it calibrated, for example, and you're getting a custom tone map upload, or you know what you're doing with the professional mode setting, like you're gonna love what the G4 does, like holding on to color. It surprised me at how well it could hold on to color once you are in that professional mode. So
Mm.
yeah,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, it is interesting because it like opened my eyes onto like what we are seeing and what we are evaluating isn't just going to be the panel difference. Like it's not just like WOLED isn't capable of doing the color. It's more so like it's that, but also tone mapping. So tone mapping is a huge deal that I think is one of the harder things to explain to people because when you get into that, it's over. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny.
Any other questions? Let me see.
Um,
Well, I guess here's a random. I was just thinking
yeah,
about
go
this.
for it.
Do you think that it seemed like 4K is still relevant to this day? Do you think 8K will ever
That's a good question.
come out and shine one of these years? That's kind of like always been my biggest question.
I
We always
hope
keep on
so.
saying, "Well, we'll wait till next year,"
I
and then
hope
we say, "Well,
so.
we'll wait the year after that."
I hope so, but it's gonna take more, right? Like it's gonna be a while before they do. It's gonna take more on the broadcast end. It's just gonna take a lot, man. It's we don't have the infrastructure in place for it. Like streaming wise, it's not really a thing much, you know. We have the content delivery for it. Like we have the cameras for it, you know. Like we have beautiful 8K cameras right now, that are very capable. Like Sony just put out their Burano 8K camera, 8K cinema camera, so you're gonna get a lot of nice things out of that. But of course, you already have like Red, and you already have the Arri Alexa. But I believe that's 6K. But you already have other camera companies like Red producing 8K, you know, and Blackmagic has a 12K cinema camera. So like you absolutely
Mm,
do still have the ability to have like really awesome 8K content. It's just we don't have the infrastructure to place like 8K media out there for everybody. And so I'm thinking TV companies are picking up on that because really only Samsung's the one that's not stepping out of 8K. LG's got their QNET 8K, but I mean, nobody checking for that really too much. But I need to see that still to really judge it. But from what I saw at the QN900D, I was really impressed with it. I think that 8K has a future. It's just not ready yet. Still just not ready yet. I don't know that anybody is ever going to love it either. Like, appreciate the difference. Because you can see the difference in 8K, but you have to be close. Like, you really have to be
yeah.
close to the TV. It has to be big enough too, you know?
Yeah, that's I've been thinking about that for a long time too. Like even like graphic cards too,
Mm-hmm.
like Nvidia and AMD. You could play some 8K content if you got the highest, but it's pretty challenging and stuff like to
Yeah.
play 8K 60 and stuff. So um, yeah, and then I'm just thinking about the bandwidth too when it comes to internet and stuff because that's another thing that's another hindrance with 8K because we don't have. I mean, you see what happened to Blu-rays now. Best Buy stopped carrying it. Target started carrying it, and then I think Amazon. I think still carrying Blu-ray, but you don't see a lot of Blu-ray players anymore. So that's kind of like another question about that physical media. So yeah, I don't know. AK got some. I think we have to wait more until it start to pick up. I don't know when that's going to be and stuff. So
Also
it's
with
there. It
Samsung,
just
you run the risks of brightness nerfs. Welcome to the chat, SD. I'm glad you're back. I know I banned you earlier, but welcome back. Um, I'm pretty sure that's SD. I don't know if it's not Immortals. I apologize. I'm just saying he's
Please don't.
talking a lot like SD was before, but I just wanted to call it out because I thought it was funny. Um, let's see who else we got.
I
We have
wasn't
some
even
pretty
pay,
good
I wasn't even
questions.
paying attention.
I could be wrong. Let's see. We got a couple of questions that I missed. Where was it? Here, this is a good question. Why don't all TV manufacturers calibrate all TVs? Is it really expensive in mass? Well, no TV manufacturers calibrate any TVs, first of all. So, they just don't have the means and the capability. They probably have the capability. They just don't have the time. Like, right? Like, if you really truly want to have a TV calibrated, it takes time. So, to imagine them doing that on every unit, that's wild, right? Maybe there's a way for them to do like just like a factory. Okay, this is a quick calibration, which I do think they do like some sort of like configuration that's similar on all the TVs that makes the TVs act and perform similar, but so much variance in the TVs that I have a hard time believing that there's a lot of like true dialing in going on. And this would be a better like question for like classy and stuff. And like D Nice would be able to answer this too. But like they are not really calibrating out of the box. Like what you're getting, they could say it's like really nice, you know, but you could still benefit from a calibration if you're going for true reference accuracy. The thing is though, like I don't know how many people actually are going to like benefit from that unless they are looking for that look, right? It's going to benefit everybody, no doubt about it. Like if you get your TV calibrated and you're looking for what you want for the reference accuracy, like you want to watch movies as the director intended, right? Get a calibration done because you're going to have a great experience out of it. But for most people, I would say for most people, you will have a good experience out of like filmmaker mode or professional mode. But just know that those aren't calibrated modes. Those are just like closest to like being accurate as possible for them, that you can buy. Some are more accurate than others, and if you want true accuracy, you have to pay for ISF calibration. You cannot go and buy somebody's $5 settings and expect the world out of it, because it's gonna look like absolute trash. So like you can't expect much out of buying other people's settings. You have to truly just pay for calibration, like an ISF calibrator, for example. But yeah, that's what I got to say on that front.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like you think the technology stuff should be automated. Yeah, but you have to have so much attention to detail for each panel specifically, right? That's why like everybody says you can't really calibrate a TV with settings, because you can't. You have like there's so much panel variance. There's things that are going to be different about your set compared to another set, right? Somebody can go calibrate a S90D and it could be completely different than somebody else's S90D in some cases. So
Or manufacturers may come out and say, "Hey, we're using AI technology to calibrate each individual sets for a gimmick type situation." So I wouldn't put it past manufacturers doing that. So that would be interesting. I don't know.
yeah,
Just throwing it out there since AI seems to be all to talk about.
yeah. Everybody should share your favorite HDR YouTube video. Yeah, HDR videos on YouTube, there are some pretty cool ones. I'm gonna start doing my own eventually. So that's a little bit of a teaser announcement. Is like I will start making my own 4K HDR content for you guys to display on your TVs. So stay tuned for that. And then stuff that I can use without worrying about being hit with a copyright or something.
Yeah, that'd be
But
really
check out
good.
Jennifer Gala. She got some awesome content. Um, she curates a lot of videos off of other people's like films, right? And then she like puts it together behind her own music. It's really cool stuff. She does HDR content. She also uses her own content in there as well. So really cool. I would say that her channel's pretty awesome for HDR content. And then there's a lot of cool like TV demos from like Sony and Samsung and LG floating around on YouTube that other people uploaded.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I really don't have a go-to channel. Jennifer Gala does come up a lot,
Yeah.
and on some of the videos where I'm looking at and stuff. So yeah, I really can't say specifically,
Oh no, not
just to name some.
yeah. They knew what I wanted. Okay. Let's see. Yeah, I think there's a lot of good stuff out there for sure. But I think that's about it for questions. Let's see. I was gonna say I kind of lost my train of thought. I was gonna ask you if there was any good like food places you had lately. That might be like a chain or something like worldwide that I forgot about. Because we used to have some pretty good
Uh,
conversations on that in the streams, so I
I
wanted to
just
kind of
thought
bring
about
that
that.
back. I wanted to bring that back.
You know what? Let me just make sure before I say something. I wonder if they have that in your area.
I don't have to be in my area. It just has to be like worldwide. Like Raising Cane's, for example. We don't have that, but everybody talks highly on them. I really want to
I
try
had
Raising
Raising
Cane's.
Cane's before.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's really good. I don't know why it's not here in Michigan, but Raising Cane's is pretty good. Have
Yeah.
you had Dave's? Hold on for a
Oh,
minute.
I had Dave's hot chicken.
Yeah, I was
Has
just
it
about
been
to
that
say
long
that.
since we talked? No, I talked to you after CES. I told you I had it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this is right around the corner from our place and stuff, and I like it. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
pretty good and stuff. So,
Yeah, no, it was good. It was real
um,
good. That was worth.
yeah, yeah, I think it's a really good place. And then for some reason, um, I don't know. I've been really into Korean barbecue chicken. I
Mm,
can't. I can't. I don't know the reason why, but it's like this. There's one place around the corner from our my place. It is, man. It's just like it's really good and stuff. So I've been hearing a lot of people been talking about Korean fried chicken for a long time, and I just think I finally had it maybe like last year or the year before that, and I just been hooked on it since then.
Yeah. Nah, yeah, I mean, I need it in my area. Too bad we don't have more stuff like that. But here's a question I missed from EP. I just wanted to hit real quick. We kind of talked about this earlier. I think like you're talking about the price difference. If we're talking about performance, you know, it really is gonna like boil down to like what you like more so what you need. You said you don't know if you'll be able to get over the OLED contrast difference from a Bravia 9. I would say it's not as big as like older mini LED TVs where it was like, yeah, you'll see a huge difference. I think you'll see a difference, but um, will you miss it? It's hard to say you miss it. You know, I feel like it has good contrast. It's not OLED level contrast, but it has good contrast. Um, and so like this price though, it's not 62.99. That's the biggest thing. Is like we're talking about that 83-inch G4 62.99 right now compared to 47.99. To me personally, if I'm buying a large screen TV, I factor price into the equation, but maybe you don't. If you don't, there's the same price. Let's say hypothetically they're the same price. I go for the G4. That's just me personally. But when they're this different in price, I go for the Bravia 9. So it's really how much do you weigh price into your equation? That's one of the things that I'm kind of thinking about.
Yeah, I have to see the G4 on this one because I see the G3 and I wasn't really all that impressed with the
Mm,
G3, so I got to see a G4 in person and stuff. But that Bravia 9, the 85-inch, yeah, it's an upgrade. If you have a 2022 TV and it's a mini LED TV like my X95K, I think that's a good upgrade.
yeah.
But that's
Yeah,
just my opinion.
right. Uh, it's a great upgrade from previous mini LED TVs. Like you said, your X95K jump into the Bravia 9. You would be like, yeah, I like that. That's a good difference right there.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not saying to do it, Max. Don't do it.
Oh,
Uh,
I'm well. Let's see when I bring it home and see what happens. So I may look at it and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna have to make some sacrifices.
nah, don't do it. Um, yeah, I think that when you're talking about the price difference, it is to me, I couldn't justify it. I couldn't justify that price difference. So when you saw, you know, 65-inch, the G4 is actually cheaper. So
Oh, that's crazy. Yeah.
yeah, so then I go with the G4 in that. So I factor in price for sure. But like if we're just talking about picture quality, you can make pros and cons for both. I think if you're somebody who constantly watches in vivid mode, you gotta go with a Bravia 9. It's just an experience that you can't have anywhere else. You just can't. Like this is crazy brightness that I have not seen delivered in this manner. When you're talking about artificial brightness pushes, the Bravia 9 does things that I've never seen the TV do. When it comes down to just like, all right, we're gonna watch this in professional mode. Both TVs equal. Let's have them side by side. The G4 will beat the Bravia 9 in that situation. Like if we're talking about let's put them in their closest to reference mode as possible, the
Mm,
G4 wins most of the time, if
mm,
not like all the time. Most of, yeah, except for maybe
yeah.
like select high average picture level scenes. But again, it comes
Yeah.
down to
I have
preference.
to see it.
Yeah,
Yeah. I'm looking forward to seeing the G4.
yeah. He's like, did I see your screen earlier correct when you showed a 77-inch G4 for 3K? Yeah, let me go back to that real quick before we wrap. Yeah, that's what you saw. So this is like the military price right now. This can also be the first responder price, depending on
He
what
said,
you
"Wait
fall
a minute."
under. There is the LG partner program. It's not even a partner program. Sorry, it is the partner like appreciation thing where it's like if you are falling under some of the like discount member programs like military, first responder, education, some other stuff too. I don't know. You got to look into it. But yeah, $2,999. And it has a logo that says Black Friday price, which tells me maybe that's the Black Friday price for the 77-inch G4. That would be pretty cool. That'd be pretty cool. And then I'm gonna pull up this real quick. This is Camel Camel Camel. I want you guys to like favorite this website if you guys can. This is camelcamelcamel.com. And this is like where I go to see like if I'm getting the lowest price possible on a TV and if it's been cheaper before. So, for example, I got the S90D 77-inch up right now. And by the way, you can get this actually cheaper for $25.99 if you're a Best Buy Plus member. But $27.99 is what the retail is right now on it. So you can see that it is currently the cheapest it's ever been. It has never been lower than this. And this is really good to check because you want to see like has the TV been cheaper in the past? Because if it's been cheaper, you probably don't want to buy it right now. But if it's the lowest and you need a TV right now, you're safe. You're good to buy. Will it go lower? Absolutely. It will on Black Friday. But currently, $27.99 is what the S90D is at. And you can see, like, before it was a low price at like $3,000. And then it went up back to like $32.99. And then so, like, while it was $32.99, you wouldn't want to buy there. And then it dropped again. And it will go up in price again. That's just how these TVs work. So I'm just letting you guys know that. That's how that works. But yeah, Camel 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 is a good price check website if you're ever curious. It compares Amazon pricing. So yeah. But I mean, that's about it. Like, I don't really have much else to say. Max, you got anything to say? Anything to talk about?
No, I think I'm good at the moment. I know I'm gonna start cranking out some more content soon, and I'm gonna try to get that Bravia 9 and do some unboxing and some first impressions of it soon. Can't say it's going to be next week, but hopefully the week after that, I could probably get that in. Because I was looking online and it seemed like delivery is like a couple weeks out now because it seemed like it's not a lot of Bravia 9s in my area. So we'll see.
Yeah. Real quick, I want to hit a few more things. Even professional mode with brightness preferred will trounce OLEDs. It depends on the scene. Like, if we're talking about OLEDs with like dynamic tone mapping on, like for example, like put the G4 on with brightness preferred basically on that. It's like they're not like that different if we're talking about certain modes. It depends on the content, of course, but if we're just talking about like movies, TV shows, like regular content that we watch, unless you're using an artificial brightness enhancer, like advanced contrast enhancer, for example, or you're using vivid mode, like it's going to be very similar most cases. But in higher graded content, the Bravia 9 will make more of a difference over a G4. But other than that, it's pretty close. And that contrast difference, the Bravia 9 won't have that contrast. And Max does have his own channel, Matt. I have it linked in the description, so go check that out when you get a chance to.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, and then Chris says 85-inch Bravia 9 or 77-inch A95L. We're talking about size difference here. A95L Bravia 9. I think I would go with the Bravia 9 for the size difference.
Yeah, that size difference. You you,
Mm-hmm.
you definitely notice that.
Yeah.
And that Bravia 9 85 inches. I think it's nice. I think it's pretty nice and stuff. So I gotta see the G4, so I can't speak on the G4, but that Bravia 9, it definitely you can see the differences and stuff. So with those, I kind of wish QD OLED will come out with bigger sizes. You know what? That would be interesting for next year. See if Samsung say, you know what, we're gonna do an 83 inch. Then that may change my tune about the 895L or whatever they
Yeah.
call it, Bravia 10 or whatever they're gonna name it and
Yeah,
stuff.
but
So
you know it's gonna be like $8,000.
yeah, so
Like
but if,
if
if it's
if
gonna
the
be eight thousand
G4
dollars,
is
then yeah, I'll go with
62.99
Bravia
right
9.
now, bro, you know that
Yeah,
the Bravia 10 83-inch with QD OLED, which probably that's not gonna happen, guys. That's probably not gonna happen. Which is maybe why they made that rumor earlier was like maybe they'll go with the 83-inch MLA because that makes sense. Because MLA is
yeah, that might make
existing in
sense.
83
So
inch. So, or maybe they'll just make like the Bravia 10 like 83-inch only, which would be stupid. But let's just say like Sony does it, Bravia 10, and it's an 83-inch OLED with like MLA or QD OLED. That sucker's gonna be expensive. Like,
oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. The more I
like
think
that's
about
gonna
it.
be really expensive. I will say this though. People harp on Sony about the Sony tax all the time. There's often times where there's having deals that make more sense over like other TVs that are on the market. For example, and this is one of the last things I'll say before we go, is let me go back to Best Buy real quick. And I want to show you the Bravia 7 65-inch. Which, let me get your take on the Bravia 7 while I look this up. You said you didn't really like the screen coating in your video.
Yeah, when I was looking at the screen coding and the Bravia 7, from what my understanding is kind of like the X95L from last year, except for some minor tweaks here and there. But I did not like the screen coding on there, and that's just for what I saw. Uh, for my opinion, I definitely think it's a good TV, but it's just that screen coating, it was really throwing me off, especially when
Mm-hmm.
I was looking at it comparing to, let's just say, I don't know. It's just for me, I just always like the glossy screen. So it's like the looking at the Bravia 9 and then looking at the 895L, just seeing that more of a glossy look. From my view, I feel like the picture quality was looked better. Gave me the illusion that the picture quality was better and
So it's like a
stuff.
semi-gloss kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a semi gloss. It reminded me. It looked to me. It reminded me more of the A80L.
Okay. So you know what's funny about that is
So,
like the Bravia 8 this year has a glossy coating. It doesn't have that semi-gloss anymore. So like
mm.
I have the 55-inch Bravia 8 right now. It's a full gloss coating. So it doesn't have that semi-gloss no more.
Oh, they
So it's
probably got a
interesting the
lot of,
Bravia
yeah.
7
It was
has
a lot.
that
It was a
now.
lot of heat. Yeah, they probably got a lot of heat from last year and stuff. And that was a real. I didn't really care for that coating as well too.
Really?
But
Wow. See, it didn't bother me that much, but I guess it's just because like I'm evaluating in a darker room. I'm trying to work on that, by the way. I want to try to like find ways to introduce different light sources into the equation. I want to simulate a bright room as much as possible for next year. For certain parts of my reviews, just because I want it to be like fair and on an even playing field. Because people are like, your videos are so dark. I'm like, all right, I get it.
mhm.
Um, I just like to watch the HDR in a dark room, and I think that's the best way to present HDR as well. And by the way, I don't know if you guys saw my videos lately, but they are all in HDR going forward when I can.
Oh
When I
yeah.
can. So, Max, you get a chance to watch any of the ones in HDR yet?
Oh yeah, I watched a couple of videos that you had in HDR, the comparison video. I was just
Yeah.
like, man, it's a difference. It's better quality.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah, it's really awesome. So I bring up the 65-inch Bravia 7 because I swear this was cheaper. So I'm gonna check the price now on Camel to see if it was cheaper, but I'm pretty sure it was. Um, like it was a no brainer to get this over the QN90D before, and yeah, it was. It was 17.99 before, so not the cheapest that it has been, unfortunately. So like I said, the Bravia 7, we can't really talk about that right now. But as you can see here, with the Camel website brought up, that we had it at 17.99 at one point. So,
Hmm.
and at 17.99, I absolutely do like it over, say, the QN90D. And I like it over the QN90D anyway. But that's just me. All right. Last question of the day, and then we out. So solely for gaming, which one's better, A95L or B9? Solely for gaming, I say the A95L is better because it just is going to give you a smoother experience overall within game mode. You're having that fast response time of OLED, which is great for fast-paced games. You're not only getting that, but you're having just you don't have to worry about the backlight performance in an LCD TV with games. So people really get this kind of misconstrued when I talk about Bravia 9 and game mode. They think that I'm saying that the Bravia 9's game mode is horrible. That's not really the case. It's more so like compared to outside of game mode, you're going to notice a difference because games just act differently with LCDs in mind. You're constantly moving the camera, you're constantly moving to different environments, right? You're constantly getting light sources in and out of focus, in and out of like your picture, like you're going to go up and down the map, get closer to the objects, get further away from objects. So you'll notice more brightness fluctuations. I don't know if you guys watched Caleb's Digital Trends review of the Bravia 9, where he's talking about the subtitles coming in and you get a little pulsing kind of effect for the Bravia 9, where you're going to get that backlight fluctuation. That's absolutely a thing in game mode, but it's not just in game mode. It's just the way the TV backlight performs. So in games, it's more noticeable when you are going to get things brought in and out of range where the backlights will trigger all of a sudden. Because the further away you are from a light source on an LCD TV, you don't get the backlight activating. So it's one of those things where, like, for gaming, for me, I think OLEDs are better, just technology wise in general. If you're wanting brightness out of it, brightness capability wise, the Bravia 9 will get you there further. But A95L's picture quality in game mode is better than the Bravia 9, in my opinion, personally.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, uh, I think that the game type of gaming that you do too, because I'm just thinking of like shooting games and
Yeah.
competitive gaming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just that response time does make a huge difference as well too. So,
Yeah, that does.
yeah, I will go OLED with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt, no doubt, no doubt. So that's where I'm at with that. Thank you so much for joining, Max. It was great catching up, and gotta do this
Oh,
more
it's
often,
been a
man.
blast. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, anytime and stuff
Yeah.
like that. I'm back.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. Check out Max's channel, guys. I'm gonna link it in the description. It's already linked, so go check that out. And yeah, man, I have to say, can't go wrong with any of these TVs. So
Oh, it's out. It
yeah,
seemed like it's a
good
great
TV year.
if you have a TV year. I think for me, I looked at last year TVs and I'm going off of mini LED. I didn't see too much of a upgrade when it comes to mini LED, even with QD OLED and WOLED technology. I thought it was good, but it wasn't like how when the S95B came out and the A95K came out, we were so blown away with that technology. It, like
Yeah.
last year felt like it was like an incremental upgrade, but this year is kind of like, yeah, this they did a really good job this year and stuff.
They
And mini
refined things.
LED and
Yeah.
the G4.
Yeah, it's more refined this year. It's more like definitive. Like last year, I felt like going from the S90C to the S95C. Why do it? why do it?
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason to do it. So I've never really recommended S95C that much to people because I thought the S90C was almost as good. This year, S95D is just on a different level compared to the S90D. So it's like, yeah, you're getting a far and away better TV with the S95D, like capability wise. And then same thing with the G4 over the C4. Like, you are just getting a better TV capability wise. And remember in the past when we were talking about G2 and C2, people are like, why would you get a G2? Like, maybe just for like the panel warranty. That's it, you know? And so there's a huge reason to go for premium this year. In the past, there wasn't. So it's really nice. And the Bravia 9 is a nice, like, change of pace. And finally, and we can talk about an LCD being close to OLED again, you know? Finally.
Yeah.
Because I've been waiting for that because everybody's like, you're so OLED biased. I'm like, no, I think the Bravia 9 actually does belong up in there with the OLEDs in the conversation. It does belong there. So no doubt about it.
Yeah, it definitely got its strengths, but it also has its weaknesses as well. So
Yeah. Cool. All right. Thank you so much for joining. I'll see you guys next time. Any last words to people before you out?
subscribe, and thanks everyone for all showing all the love. I greatly appreciate it and
Yep.
stuff. So thanks.
Yeah. Head to Max's channel, subscribe to this channel if you're not. Thank you guys so much for watching. See you next time. Peace.